everyone, I am Pion and welcome to Evolve. You can see some pre-recorded gameplay footage in the background from a beta weekend a few weeks ago, but it's my second game as a medic or so I play terrible and you're probably better off by just ignoring it. But I want to talk about a few gameplay mechanics in Evolve which I find super interesting. So as you probably know, 4 humans play versus 1 monster in Evolve. However, unlike in other games or movies, the monster is actually not the hunter here, and the humans are not trying to escape the monster or fulfilling some kind of task or something along those lines. Instead, the humans are actually hunting the monster, and the monster is trying to escape them and trying to avoid fighting, or at least delay it as long as possible. The reason for this is the mechanic that gives the game its name. It's the evolve mechanic. The monster can eat animals in order to evolve to a next stage, to level 2 or level 3, and every time it does so, it gets way stronger. And this means that it's beneficial for the monster to delay fighting and try to fight the hunters only when it gets to its final and strongest stage. If the developers manage to balance the game well, then it probably should something like this. When the monster is on level 1, in a straight up fair fight, the hunters have a big advantage over the monster. So there's a good reason for the monster to try to avoid the hunters and escape them as quickly as possible. And there's a good reason for the hunters to track down the monster as early as or quickly as possible and force it into a fight. When the monster reaches level 2, the playing field is a little more even, but probably still with a small advantage for the hunters. So the monster still has a reason to not just turn around and straight up fight the hunters, and instead try to reach level 3. Because on level 3, the monster has a huge advantage over the hunters in a fair fight, where the monster is at full HP, which is an important topic we will tackle in a minute. This means, though, that Evolve is not just about the fighting. It's not only important for the hunters to learn to fight the monster and for the monster to fight the hunters. It's super important for the hunters to learn to track down the monster, find it as quickly as possible, force it into a fight, and prevent it from escaping. And it's super important for the monster to learn the opposite, obviously, avoiding the hunters and escaping them if they find it. So the hunt is actually a super important part of the game, which is quite interesting in my opinion. However, there's one mechanic which plays into it, and this whole stuff would not work without that. The monster cannot heal. There are some exceptions, there are some buffs which let you heal and you can eat animals in order to get armor and stuff, but normally the monster does not heal. However, it gets extra HP every time it evolves to the next stage. But if you took damage earlier, this will be less overall HP than if you would not take damage earlier. This is super important because it makes fights, or lets fights have a non-binary outcome. If the monster could heal after every fight to full HP, then fights could only have 2 outcomes. The hunters either succeed by killing the monster, GG, or they fail by letting the monster escape, which will then heal up to full HP, and the first fight will have no effect on the next fight, or at least not a big one. So the permanent damage, however, brings the middle ground in between those extremes, because most fights can now end up with the monster escaping but taking some permanent damage, and so in the end, the monster will take more damage over time, which is obviously a middle ground between just success and failure. So if the game is balanced well and 2 fair teams will play against each other, then the game probably looks something like this. So the monster runs away, the hunters find it and track it down and force it into a fight. They will deal some damage to the monster, but eventually the monster will escape and run away. This will repeat multiple times, probably, or can at least repeat multiple times. The better the hunters are, the more often they will find the monster and the more damage they can deal each engagement, on each engagement. So, but at some point, the monster will reach level 3. And when the monster reaches level 3, the dynamic changes and the monster does not want to run away anymore. Instead, it wants to fight, and it will end up in one final fight where both teams fight each other. The more damage the hunters could deal to the damage earlier, the bigger the higher their chances of winning this final fight will be. So every minute of the match counts, and it's super important from the beginning to deal as much damage to the monster as possible for the hunters, and to avoid as much damage and evolve as quickly as possible for the monster. So every minute counts, and it's really nice to see how those mechanics play into each other here and work that well, and are really well thought out actually. Obviously, if the teams are not balanced, everything can go totally different. If the monster completely outplays the hunters, then it just kills them on level 2 or something. Or if the hunters outplay the monster, they find it on level 1 and kill it. Or stuff like that can happen. But if the game is balanced well and the teams are fair, then a match will probably look something like this. So yeah, these were just some random thoughts about the game mechanics in Evolve because I find them interesting, so I decided to share them with you. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot for watching, have fun, and see you next time.